This is A is for Adversity, a podcast about navigating the obstacles in life. Thanks for joining us this season as we talk about how a community can help. I'm Jen.
And I'm Rachel. We're here to be a part of your community this year as we learn together.
Hello, I am here with Rachel, the co-host.
Hi.
And I'm excited because we're doing an episode together. This was kind of the inspiration, I would say, for a lot of the things that we're talking about this season. And I'll have Rachel explain kind of what this is.
Maybe a year and a half ago, I created some family activity, PowerPoint of family activity things that we could do. And then that formed into something where I actually printed those off and put them in envelopes, and it's something that I do with my kids sometimes. And so I actually did it a couple years ago, and I gave it to people for Christmas. So I printed off like the envelopes, and I had it for them that people could use for Christmas and use with their families. And anyway, so I call it the family fun. Yeah.
And this resource will be available on the website, A is for Adversity. It'll be under the compilations tab so that you can have a look and do it with your own family. And I love this because family is our first community. It's who we grow up with, it's who we spend our time with, or if we create our own family, that's just the base of connection and relationships. And so I love that we're doing this episode on family because that's the most basic community, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
So I'll just have Rachel tell us about a few activities and kind of how things went and what it looks like so you can get an idea. So the first one that I heard about was Night in Neverland. So tell us about that one.
So all of my family activities, all of them are themed, some kind of theme, because I really enjoy kind of themed parties. I've always loved that. I used to throw some murder mysteries at one point, and it's just something fun. I like creating a world that you can feel like you're just in a different place and just be like really immersed. And so it's fun because kids actually really is a great place to be able to do that. Like because kids love themes too.
Yes.
And so Night in Neverland is my family activity that's themed off of Peter Pan, obviously. And so for Night in Neverland, it's kind of one of the simple ones that's really fun, and it's just that so I create like a treasure map, and it can be really simple. When I did this, it took me maybe 30 minutes to create my little treasure map, but the kids had a blast with it. They loved it, and sometimes these go off well and sometimes not as well, but they really, really loved the treasure map. And so then it led to, I forgot even what it led to. I think it was just some toys or something that I had gotten that was like specific for that night, maybe a treat or something like that, And then my kids love building forts, and that feels very Neverland to me, that feels really Peter Pan. So the idea is that we built a fort and then could watch Peter Pan while we ate our treat or played with the toy in the fort, And so that was one of my favorite ones, and one of the ones that actually went off rather well.
Yeah, that's so great. I love it. And I love themes as well. And I can just see it with your boys, the Lost Boys, and just really immersing yourself, like you said. So what happens when your boys aren't as familiar with the concept or the theme as you are?
My kids are young enough, they tend to kind of... if they're familiar with the theme, they are a little bit more likely to kind of get into it, especially because a lot of my themes go along with the movie. So sometimes it'll be like a family activity and then it'll end with a movie night, and it kind of adds, makes sense. But if they don't know it, it still ends up being some sort of activity that we can do together. So for example, I have one that's trip to ancient Egypt, and I haven't done that one, but that's on my list to do next because I've been having fun learning about ancient Egypt. And so that one, if I remember correctly, we're just building a sphinx out of Play-Doh or something in that sense, and doing some things where I'm teaching them about it, So, and there's other things. I tend to kind of introduce the topic to them a little bit before the family night so that they have some, maybe watch the movie beforehand or something, possibly, so that they kind of have some familiarity with it.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, if you kind of front-loaded them or gave them context, and so that's great. Sometimes they're familiar, sometimes they're not, and they get to learn. So you mentioned that some of them have a treat or a recipe. Where do you feel like you found most of your ideas?
I found a lot of the things just off of Pinterest, so just, giving, I wish at the time I hadn't really thought about, like, making sure I gave credit to where all the recipes came from, but anyways, it was something where I was trying to find something that would go along with the theme. So, like, for example, Beauty and the Beast night, I found a recipe for the gray stuff, that's just, like, it's, like, kind of the classic, like, Oreos and whipped cream or, crushed Oreos that you put on the top of a cookie, and
try the gray stuff, it's delicious.
Yep. So there's a few of those. Some of them I actually kind of made up a recipe on my own. So there's one called Jedi Training, and so that one I just decided you could get the pretzel rods and just dip it in, like, different colored, like the red or the green or blue, like chocolate. So then you can kind of make your own lightsaber or something in that sense.
So cute.
But for the most part, a lot of them came from Pinterest. And some of these ideas as well. I mean, this idea in general came from, like, a one-off idea on Pinterest that I saw that was, like, somebody had, like, an envelope where they opened it up, and these were, like, more, like, specifically Disney-themed things, and it was, like, a Disney meal theme, but, like, you'd watch the movie and eat the meal, and so that's kind of where this idea came from. And sometimes I would look up, like, I've looked up things, like, activities that could go along with a certain movie or something like that. But yeah, that's been really fun. And anyways, it's been fun trying some of these recipes as well because they're new to me.
Yeah. So you mentioned that some of them were Disney themed. What are some other overarching themes you feel like?
I've tried to expand it as much as I can because I've wanted it to be something that could be useful to a lot of different families, like, and as your kids, like, all through the ages, I've tried to make it something where it would, really have a more expansive reach. But I mean, it's always come from things that I've had interest in because that's where the ideas come from. So I don't know if anybody's seen, like, who's interested in the Miyazaki films. So they're anime, like Howl's Moving Castle. So I have one based on Howl's Moving Castle. I have one based on Whisper the Heart. Some of my favorites of those, just because I've enjoyed those, and they're fanciful enough, and they have food that's already, like, kind of related to the movies, and so it was an easy one to kind of make an activity out of it. So there is, there's a good handful of, like, things similar to that. There's an Uncle Iroh, like Tea with Uncle Iroh, that's based on, like, Avatar. But I have, a variety of others that are kind of just from here and there.
Yeah, as I was looking through, I noticed that some are focused on books, too. So, like, Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah, we've got The Hobbit, we've got Narnia in there, and different ones. And there's also another part of a lot of my activities, like many of my activities, they have discussion points. So probably at least half, if not more, have some sort of family discussion that goes along with the activity that's kind of based on what's going on in the book. So, like, for example, if I found, like, the Narnia one, I'm pretty sure that one has a discussion. And it's like, so why is it easier to make mistakes when we're angry? What can we do when we feel angry or jealous or depressed to help us feel better? And what gifts do you feel like you have that you have been given to help fight the war? So those are all kind of based off of specifically The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and things that happen within that. So it would kind of be a way to also do a little bit more kind of a deeper family discussion.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love how you've integrated so many useful things in these, and they're fun at the core, and so kids are on board right away. Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned a trip to Egypt. Are there other ones too that have that geographical concept?
Yeah, and that's like, because I have some rough drafts of ones that I want to do in the future, and most of those are geographical ones. Like, I think it would be fun to just do, like, kind of a focus on different places around the world, but it's harder sometimes for me to think of an activity as much as just, like, making a meal together, which in itself can be an activity, but my kids are young, so I'm always thinking of things, like, that they can do, but my 3-year-old's getting to where he can help me with meals. So yeah, so I have, like, trip to the ocean. That one's, I actually have a link in there for some, like, really kid-friendly ocean learning kind of things to learn about the ocean that I found. That was, I forget what website it was on, but I do actually have the link in there for that. And then there's, like, trip to ancient Greece and like a pioneer day, because we're from Utah, so that we definitely have pioneers and our ancestors sometimes, and it's a big part of, we have Pioneer Day coming up actually. So I have a few of those.
Yeah, that's great. So how often would you say you do these family nights? Is it just kind of sporadic, or when you're feeling like you could use some excitement in your days?
Yeah, I feel like that's it, basically. It depends on the season a little bit, because there's certain, like, for example, during the holidays, there were so many other things going on that we didn't really do any of these. But especially like when the holidays end, you kind of feel like you need to have something that you can do with your kids, and you're like inside because it's cold outside still in like January. So we were trying to plan a lot more of these, and I definitely have learned that it's nice to have, like, it's nice to invite people over because if it's just the four of us, because I have my two kids and my husband, and, sometimes my husband's into it, sometimes he's not, and sometimes the kids are focused and sometimes they're not, depending. But if I have a bigger group, like, it kind of adds a little bit of focus to the activity, and it helps me plan it a little bit more, and helps there be like a bigger, like, group that can kind of like also do whatever activity that goes along with it. So that's been fun.
Yeah, I got to participate in one of these. Every month we have a family night as a group with just some of the families in our neighborhood, and we just have a little spiritual message and then an activity. And so the one at Rachel's house was themed on Frozen, and so she had a blue drink that we had, and we played charades, and so every time I experience one of these, it brings the excitement to me, and it makes me want to do it too. So I'm glad that you've shared this resource.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, I just wanted to give you a little taste of this awesome PowerPoint, this awesome resource, and hopefully it's enough to take you to the website to find it for yourself and download it and do it with your own family, your own community.
Yeah, and I would definitely encourage, these are supposed to be more just something that really spurs ideas for you and your family, because obviously things would need to be tweaked for your, like, the age of your kids and the group, like the size of the group and different things in that sense. But really, like, it's almost just like an idea, like a place where I start thinking about it. And sometimes I tweak it almost every time that I actually do one of these. And so it's been fun to just have that there in that sense, to be able to have something that encourages us to actually do some more family nights.
Yeah, that's so great. I love that it's a starting point and something to go off of, because starting is often the hardest part. So it's like a head start for us that we can just go to this resource and build on it. So thank you for creating it and for sharing it with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me be able to come and talk about my little baby project. It was fun to do, so.
Yeah, and I remember you had mentioned that you feel like it's a creativity outlet for you too?
Yes.
Yeah, in a sense.
Yep,
so.
It was definitely something that was good for that. So it's something where I think anybody can find their own ways of letting out their creativity with also being able to do things not just like physically. So that was good.
And making it their own.